Yes. So let's talk now about Bluetooth. That's something that it was also something that I was like really looking forward to it, and it was actually in beta 5 when we actually made it available. Thanks, hats off to Chris for putting this together, and it was just such an amazing feature. And I had my little Rover car there, just gathering dust in the closet, waiting. When is it going to get Bluetooth? Until I finally got it, and you guys saw it in action working. But just gonna move on to back to go to Klima Pro version, because if we're gonna have this little climate system into our backyards or in remote places, we might not be reliant on Wi-Fi all the time. So it might be better if we just have Bluetooth, so we can once in a while we drop by and see, and we just pair it to our device and get the information. And then maybe when we head home or in our office, wherever we get connectivity, we'll be able to just throw that into the cloud and just keep our logs updated somewhere on the internet. Let's jump into our Visual Studio here. And I wanted to show you this little particular class. I'm going to move this over here. And we have, if we go to the Klima Meadow Pro project, we have this class called Bluetooth Server. And this is the one that is in charge of all things Bluetooth. So it's a singleton class that will initialize or instantiate all over and on Meadow and the Meadow app main class. And the things that we need to gather here or understand is the initialize method. So this is where everything is going to start to set up and start putting everything together. So the first thing that we need to understand is something called the tree definition. So the tree definition is our specs or our different registers or our different properties that we're able to access using Bluetooth. So in this case, for the Klima Pro, we have temperature, we have pressure, we have humidity, wind speed, wind direction. And for each of these are called characteristics. And with the characteristics, we have to pass in a unified, unique value which is the UUID. And that is the address or the register identifier. Whenever we're going to get information from the device, we're going to need that information to reference that particular value so we can bring it over. And we have characteristics. In this case, it says string, but we also have integers, we have booleans. I'm using booleans on my rover because I just need them to go on and off to turn on the motors to make it rotate. And so yeah, in this case we have strings for everything. And there's also multiple ways that you can build this. We can also rely on one string, and then we can just grab all the climate reading, we serialize it in JSON, and we can pass it over to our app and deserialize it over there. In this case, we're just using 5 characteristic strings that we're just gonna access. And notice also other things here. Important is permissions and properties, which it allows us to also have that security or ensuring about the properties that we're exposing. If we are able to just only read data, in this case, is what we want, because I don't need to do anything to the Klima project. We just want to get the data that is available for us. And in the case of our rover, it also has read and write. So I can also read the state of where the motors are and what's there, if they're on or off. Or we can also do write. As I'm pressing a button, I'm writing into that register or that characteristic, turn a motor on and turn a motor off, things like that. And
now, this looks pretty complex. Do you have any suggestions on how first-time developers using BLE might make this journey a little bit easier?
Sure. Yeah. First off, we have great documentation here. This will be an intro, very lightweight, understandable way to learn some Bluetooth. It took me a little bit to understand the graphs, because Bluetooth is a slightly more complex feature or communication protocol here. There's also information about BLE clients. So if you're using Xamarin, you can also get your NuGet packages and start building your own application to connect, which is what I've done to use our the Meadow rover controller, or also for this particular example, I'm also using a NuGet package here. And another bare bones application, and something I haven't mentioned throughout the entire session, we have a Hackster hub that has over 50 projects that are readily available for you to understand some things. Like I sometimes I don't want to be overwhelmed by a lot of things happening on the boards. So if you want to learn a little bit more and easier way to understand Bluetooth, I recommend this little project that I put in about how to control an RGB LED there. It's a great example, and it'll just give you the minimum code that you need to understand this.
I love this project. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a gorgeous Xamarin app. And one thing I'd love to throw in here too is, for BLE, it is complex. The APIs that the Willis Lab team put together are really streamlined. So this is a really nice way to implement BLE. And Jorge, I really like using some of those off-the-shelf BLE Explorer apps too. So as I'm working on Meadow, I can use those to interrogate Meadow and then make sure I've got everything working, and then build up my mobile client.
For sure, yeah. And so resuming about this example is after we have our definition of the for the Bluetooth connectivity on our device, we have this start Bluetooth server, and we finally pass this object that I've been talking about, characteristics and service and all that. And something really key is the climate conditions updated. So we keep track of an event handler of whenever the device is receiving requests from other devices via Bluetooth. So in this case, when I want to gather data, this event handler is the one that's going to be kicked off, and it's going to say, oh, look, we got new climate data, setting it, and then it'll just set the information, and it'll start returning that information into our phones. So let me jump in, and I'm going to show you my phone here. Let's see, I can put it on focus. Move this aside.
And we've had a request to bump the font size a notch too, if.
On the code here?
Yeah.
Sure. There we go.
Fantastic.
Perfect. And so let me show you first a little example. Let's turn the visor here, because I don't want to. It's best to show you. There we go. We got our application. There's my phone. And now if I check and I set Klima here, this is a companion app that we're adding into in our repo. And we structured it to have the Hackit version and the ProKit version. So on the Hackit version, we're using something called Maple, which is used to gather information over Wi-Fi and doing just basic REST client server requests. And the ProKit version is the one that's going to kick off and have all the Bluetooth connectivity stuff. So I'm going to reset the board, the Meadow board here, and notice that the LED is going to blink. And once it goes back to green, it's going to indicate me that everything is set up, initialized, and Bluetooth server is already running. And now I'm able to discover it over the mobile app. So this is pretty quick. So it's already there in green. And if I click the Hackit Pro version, this is going to start doing a scan for devices. So it's going to spend a couple seconds there, and notice that it already discovered the Meadow Klima Bluetooth server, which is how I named it here on my BLE tree definition. Is called Meadow Klima. It's this guy right here. And all that's left is just hit this connection or pairing button there. And we're connected right now. We are connected to our Meadow board. And now we proceed and call the update button. And this will start getting the data straight from Bluetooth on your from your Klima project. In this case, it's gonna give me wind speed or wind direction, or my Klima project's not properly set up with all the sensors and stuff. But it's also just to get you an idea. And this is fully scalable. We can also make it Klima to start storing data in a database, and I can also give me back, return me all the records, and I'll show them on a list view. In this case, very bare bones, very easy to understand. Just give me whatever you have in your current status. So if I click this update button again, it'll just keep updating and just get the latest information on the Klima project. So yeah, pretty exciting. I wonder if maybe I can show you a bit on the Klima app what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think seeing the client side is really powerful. And I love seeing, once you get the Bluetooth set up on Meadow, it's fairly straightforward. Then just update those characteristics and update those data endpoints. Exactly.
And so notice that it's, again, we are setting those UUID characteristics on the Meadow device. It's vital to have them also that they're the same on the client side, because this is the one thing, the one identifier on these characteristics to start gathering information from your device. So those same UIDs that are on Meadow, I put them here on the characteristic constants, and here they are. And so in the ProKit view model, if I do search for devices command, this will call scan for devices. And this is thanks for that Bluetooth is called plugin.ble 2.2. And this has already an API that already tells you start scanning for devices. And it comes with an event handler whenever a device is discovered. Right, this one, correct? And it'll just give you a list of all different Bluetooth devices that it's on your vicinity. So notice that if I click here, it's finding other different Bluetooth devices. This case also, I think my printer is right there, so it's able to pick it up. But I don't want to connect to my printer. I want to connect to my Klima project. So I'm checking like, Meadow device is discovered. It's called Meadow Klima, which is how we named it on the Meadow application. If it is, I don't need to scan anymore because it drains a lot of battery on your device. And the device list is empty, and we do a device selected, and that will already populate your picker with that Meadow Klima. And so the other thing would be the Klima status. How to get the Klima status? It's pretty simple. You just do this async method. It's called a temp characteristic read async, and that will just handle going through all the process of connecting to your Meadow board, getting the characteristic, passing the UUID, and return it, and just display it on these values that they're the ones that are data bound to your labels here on the UI. So yeah, pretty cool.
I love seeing the .NET ecosystem coming together. There's just something beautiful about seeing a Xamarin app working with Meadow. Fantastic.
Sure, yeah.
We've had just a couple of questions, and I want to just focus on one. Thank you. I think Chris already answered that, but this is a great one. Just asking where they can find the Bluetooth sample code.
Right. Okay. So one option, the one that I would recommend, like I'm also a Xamarin developer, so having a companion app is really handy. You can also use Bluetooth scanner applications, so you can just go and look for discovering, and you look for the application. You can start writing applications for that. But going out of scope, it's really easy. If you use this application, we also have, if you go to the GitHub, we also have a Meadow Core. We also have a Meadow Core sample. What's it called? It's Meadow Core samples. Yeah, here we go. So on this one, it has a bunch of nice examples to show you how to do either connectivity. Here we go. We got network here. So we have things like Wi-Fi basics, how to connect to Wi-Fi and handle different scenarios of connectivity. We have Bluetooth basics. Also, this is the one that will show you bare bones of how to use Bluetooth here too, in just one simple file. And notice that we have, as I mentioned, we have characteristics for Booleans, we have integers, we have strings, we can keep adding more and more over time.